What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the Vicarious Visions situation that Tony Hawk had mentioned yesterday on a live stream. So this is not, in my opinion, this isn't a rumor. This isn't something that we have to take with a grain of salt. I mean, you can, but I mean, it literally came from Tony Hawk himself. And basically, the story, and it's pretty darn short, is that after they did the remake of 1 and 2, right, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2, well, 1 and 2, 1 plus 2 title of the game, they were going to do 3 and 4. That was next. He said that was the next thing up. They were going to work on it. And then, now he doesn't exactly know what was going on. Now I don't think, pays attention necessarily as much as people who live online, like say someone like me, basically, and he got it pretty close. Vicarious Visions was brought in, right? So Vicarious Visions now has become part of Blizzard, and they're done. They're done with, the Activision side of their lives. And this is really what I want to focus on in this video, because I think this is stupid and awful, and I guess we'll get there. But Vicarious Visions got, brought into Blizzard. I believe they helped with Diablo 2, and I think they're also helping out with Diablo 4, and then the game wasn't going to happen. 3 and 4, Pro Skater wasn't going to happen, and and what Tony Hawk said is Activision looked around and said, well, is there any other studios that could potentially do this? And they ended up taking pitches for the game, and they asked people, like, what would you do if you had this game? Like, what would you kind of be your ideas? And they weren't, impressed by anything, and so it kind of just fell apart, and nothing happened. And that's it. That's it. So you really, in my opinion, you have two negatives here, two gigantic negatives. Number one is that you don't get to play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 as a remake, which I think a lot of people would have been very up to, considering 1 and 2, or that, the one game that had 1 and 2, did amazing. I mean, they got a really good scores. It sold incredible, at least in the first couple weeks. It sold amazing. So it's like, I think people would have done it. I really think people would have played, 3 and 4 if they would have done. And then that can kind of jumpstart, as we've talked about, even with like a Crash Bandicoot thing, right? Kind of like the prototype for how you do this. You can maybe make your brand, you make Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you remake all 4 of them. I think you're ready at that point, right, to make your own. Now, it could suck. I mean, there's no guarantee, but I mean, you have the most experience you're ever going to have. Make your own new one. You know what I mean? So I really think that could have been the plan, very long term, but definitely long term regardless. And so you have that negative, that you don't get that. And then the other negative is something that I've talked about. I really, look, Activision has had loads of good games, okay? In fact, I mentioned it on Twitter, and then there was a list of like all of their amazing properties that they've just kind of, either destroyed or let die or haven't done anything with in a long time. I mean, Activision has made some really good games, just in general. They have a really good backlog, but they don't seem to have any idea what to do with it. And a big part of that is the mismanagement. So what was pretty funny, I think people commented on this on Tony's statement, right? When Tony Hawk said, like, well, they were looking then for other developers to kind of come in and fix it. It's like, well, or, to see what they can do with the game. It's like, you didn't need to have another developer come in. If you didn't make Vicarious Visions go to which is mismanagement with Blizzard and Activision, if you didn't have Vicarious Visions just jump over, they could have been the studio. You wouldn't have to look for a replacement if you didn't get rid of the original. And it goes hand in hand with what I've talked. I've been very vocal. I don't really see enough people, I think, talking about this. I've been very vocal over the last year or so. Remember, all of last year, any Activision team that was left, not counting Vicarious Visions because that was moved into Blizzard, anyone that was left was moved in to work on Call of Duty. So people say, well, where's Spyro 4? Where's the new Crash Bandicoot game? Well, I think they're happening. The issue is, for around 9 to 12 months last year, maybe all of them, maybe most. I think we learned about it like somewhere in February, March, April. So, but yet again, it could have happened even earlier. I would say almost a full year. There were no progress being made on anything besides Call of Duty. Okay, and so again, like, I don't really hate Activision because I like a lot of their games, right? Like, I want to Crash. Crash has been awesome since, the Insane Trilogy came out. Spyro was great. I want Spyro 4. Like, I actually have trust in them when those new games come out. I think they'll be fine. Like, it's not like I have no faith in these developers to do it, but like for those that add, where's Spyro 4? Well, imagine you're making Spyro 4, and then for a year you have to put it. It's like a file on your computer that you put in the read later category, and you're working on Call of Duty's multiplayer. You're working on Warzone. You're working on the single player campaign for Call of Duty. You're working on servers. I mean, like these people just get transferred. God knows where, right? What specific part of last year's Call of Duty they get worked on. And it's like, look, I don't even care all that much about Call of Duty. I'm not willing to say they're horrible because Call of Duty is just one of those franchises over the last 10 or so years. I don't care. I don't care about it. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, great. I could care less. So it's like, but with that being said, I don't think you need every single studio. And why is that mismanagement? Well, let me say that really fast before I just move right by it. Why is it mismanagement? Well, if you didn't need these games to come out when they did, if you had a little bit more, I guess, structure, but kind of like open structure where you can let them go. And I think that is the one and only thing Microsoft may be able to bring to them, right? Is to say, hey, and I get it. It's not like each team literally has 1 year to make COD, right? I think they're on like a 3-year cycle, but they fall behind. And sometimes because of like overlap, sometimes they only have 2 years instead of 3, right? So it's not a perfect strategy. So maybe that's the only, to me, that's maybe not the only thing, but it's definitely the biggest thing that Microsoft can come in and say, look, we don't need a COD game every year, which means each of these studios, instead of 3 years to make the game, maybe you have 5, maybe you have 4, and that can really help, right? Because by Activision doing that, they ended up in a situation last year where literally the Call of Duty game that released this past year, the one we just got, would not have happened unless Activision put all hands on deck. And by all hands on deck, I mean like the 2,000 employees that they have across all studios in Activision, all working on Call of Duty, instead of just the Call of Duty team working on Call of Duty, and then everybody else working on their own stuff. And that's what happened last year. And so that's the issue, right? Because when that happens, where's Spyro? Where Spyro was put on the shelf for a year. So, like, if it comes out this fall, which I still think is probably doubtful, then take a year off, and that's when it should have happened, right? So if it comes out, if Spyro 4 does release, let's say February, we could have already had it then by now. Because if Activision just knew what it was doing, we would have already had Spyro 4 by now. If it comes out next because you meant take a year off, because that's you lost a year by everybody not working on the games that they're working on. Same thing with Crash. Same thing with literally anything you can think of that they may or may not have been doing. And that's what that. Again, I do not hear that enough. I've talked about it here. I've talked about it on the main channel. That to me, like that's. I want to say disgusting. I guess it's not like the worst thing in the world. Like, it's not like everybody's fired, right? Like they're still all there, and they'll go back to their studios and back to their games. But I mean, it's just how bad can it get for management to do that, right? And it's like, again, like really, whose fault is it? It's the bad scheduling, I'd argue, because that was more of Call of Duty, where it's like these studios just kind of got backed up. But it's because you need them to come out yearly, so you need the studios to have some sort of schedule. And then for this one, same thing. You know what I mean? Like you could have had, and instead, what they're working, they helped make Diablo 2. They're helping make Diablo 4. Well, can't those games just have taken a little bit longer to have been made? Like, did you need to do it? No, not really. You probably needed to make a deadline. And then instead of letting Vicarious Visions go back to whatever they were doing, which would have been this, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, instead, you just said, well, we'll leave them with Blizzard for good. And it's like, no, they're not. They weren't there for Blizzard. That's not why you assembled them. That's not what they've been doing for the past 5 or 6 years. That's not their thing, right? They're an amazing remake studio. Amazing. And you have them do, it's a joke. It's a joke. I get really, really mad. Maybe not even mad, just really disappointed by how all that stuff goes. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. And I hope to see you all on tomorrow's video.